Here we go. Another fine Friday for recording one of our rambling chats.
We're back under the influence again.
Episode
I have no idea what
five.
episode we're at. Episode 5. Right.
5. Yeah, 5. And obviously, we didn't talk about what we were wearing before we did this. So. I'm having a bad hair day, so that's all I'll say. Yeah.
I was as well. I fired up a Zoom meeting beforehand just to check how it was looking. I thought, put the cap on.
Looking good. That's all right. Yeah, but very, very smooth, Bob. Very suave.
I know. Yeah. I didn't realize it was going to come across like that. Like slap baby's ass.
Yeah. You need a bit of bronzer on just to take the glow off. How are you anyway?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Always good to see you.
And you.
And do this. And
I'm
feeling I might be so way off the mark on this one. It's going to be unbelievable.
Hey, look, we talked about this, and you've chosen what you want to choose. You've got to stand by your choices.
I know.
Yeah, you've got to stand by your choices. Right. So today, we were just talking about this, weren't we? That I need to think of what the title's actually going to be. But the premise is that I wanted us to both pick a band that are uncool.
Yeah.
Right. And we've got to defend them. Right.
So Uncool, it's cool. I think that's probably a decent title.
That's good. Yeah, that's very good.
According to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because one man's cool, one person's cool, is another person's not cool.
Crap.
Yeah. So a bit of a hard rock slant if we can. I'm putting pressure on you now because obviously we've talked about this. Neither of us know what the other person's going to say today. Right?
Ain't no hard rock slant from me.
Oh God, my mind's working now. My mind's working now. Who he's going to say? Right now, you see. So we've agreed I'll go first, and it softens the blow if you're a bit worried, right?
Yeah.
So, my band, right. When I first thought of this title, right, and thought we'd do this band came to mind immediately.
Okay.
Partly because they're a band that I got into a while ago, then sort of like not for any reason that I don't think they're great, but other things took over, and then in the past, I don't know, few months even, just I've really got back into them, and then it's just twigged. I've got to say that. Here's a question, right? This band have sold at least 40 million albums, right?
Okay.
Right? If not 50 now, right? Can they be uncool? And I'm going to say, of course they can be uncool, right? Because something can be popular, but rubbish, can't it?
Oh, yeah. Phil's feed the audience enough times and they'll buy it.
I'm making no comment on the current state of the pop scene, right? But some things can sell a lot of records, right? But be absolute pants, in my opinion, anyway, right? So just because this band have sold a lot of records, they can still be completely uncool to certain people, right? Maybe uncool to the mainstream. That's what I'm sort of coming at.
Okay.
Right?
I've got a few in my mind, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, we can have a few honourable mentions, can't we, like we normally do? I haven't thought of any, but... Oh, right.
I'm just thinking what you're heading towards, and I've got a few in my head.
Right. So this band started off as a real blues rock, Led Zeppelin wannabes, right? And when you listen to the albums over a period of time, you just can't believe the stylistic change, right? But in my opinion, which I'll get to in a minute, every one of those changes works, and all the albums have got merit. So, without further ado, my band that are massive but very uncool, in my opinion, are the Mighty Rush. All right. So
uncool. I wouldn't have thought there was uncool.
Wait till I tell you some things.
Okay.
Right? I think. Right. Let me dive straight in with that then. Progressive rock, prog rock is still not cool.
No.
All right. And I would argue that if you look at particularly some of the early pictures of Rush, now they weren't so this is the debut album. Have you ever seen that cover?
I don't think I have. No, I know the logo, but
yeah,
that's about it.
That they wanted to be Led Zeppelin so much it hurts.
Yeah.
If you listen to this, I suggest you ever listen to just the first couple of songs if you don't know any of it. it could be Geddy Lee, the singer and bass player, is trying hard to be Robert Plant.
Yeah.
Right? And by their own, if you know anything, if you read anything about the band, Alex Lifeson, the guitar player, often says, "We just wanted to be Led Zeppelin," because Jimmy Page is a massive influence on it.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the pictures, they just look such geeks. So that's the other reason why I'd say that
the 70s there. I'm guessing they did start in the 70s.
Yeah, so they formed in 1968 in Toronto. Right. That album, because in 1974, isn't it? Yeah, so that came out the year of our birth, Bob.
Yeah.
Sorry. We shouldn't say that, should we? We'll let on how old we are. A gentleman never gives his age away. So I guess the sort of the open neck shirts and the fringes and the poodly hair, it came along with that with that period.
Lifeson was a pretty cool dude, though, wasn't he? From what I recall.
Yeah, brilliant guitar player.
Yeah,
I'll come on to that in a couple of minutes, but I would argue. So when they first released this album, so they formed in '68. When they first released this album, so it was Geddy Lee, singer and bass player, Alex Lifeson, guitar. They were childhood friends from school, and then John Rutsey was the original drummer.
All right. So this is a total history lesson for me.
Yeah. I just want to carry on saying that if by some chance, like a Rush real
aficionado.
I'm not a Rush aficionado, right? I like him a lot, but I'm not. So he played on this, but apparently not long after, he got complications. He suffered from diabetes. So he decided that he just couldn't go on tour and be part of like a touring machine, so to speak. So just checking my notes. Neil, now you see, I would say Neil Peart, right? But I think Americans get quite mad, and they would say Peart.
Peart.
Yeah. It's pear with a T on the end. We would say Peart, wouldn't Peart? English.
Well, that's like, what's the one which they say? Like Sean Bean. Is it Sean Bean or is it Sean Bean?
Yeah. So, for the purposes of this chat, I'm going to say Neil Peart just because it's what I've always said.
Okay.
So he joined in July '74. So only a short time after this was released. Right.
All right. So he joined after that album.
Yeah. So John Rutsey plays on this, but it was released in '74. Did I write down where? No. Only a few months after it was released. Then Neil Peart joined.
Oh, so God, what's the contrast between the sound on that album and the next album, drum-wise? Then is it just like leagues away?
You can tell the difference straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, the first couple of albums are still following this blueprint a bit, right? Once they got into the third album, which is called Crest of Steel, that was when the 12-minute song started to come in and that sort of thing. But yeah, you can tell the difference between the way he drummed straight away and the way that the original drummer played. Definitely. But I wrote this down, Bob. I've written it down here. So Neil Peart joined in July the 29th in 1974. All right, and in August the 14th, so not even a month later, they were supporting a Uriah Heep in front of 11,000 people.
You can't imagine it, can you?
No. So within 3 weeks of joining, he was doing that sort of gig.
What was he doing before then? Do you know?
I'm not sure 100%. I can't remember how they got introduced to him. I did watch the Rush most recent documentary not long ago. I think they were just introduced to him by a friend of a friend. But yeah, so there's got to have been a stylist. There was a movement straight away, but I mean, Peart was regarded as perhaps the best drummer ever.
Yeah.
Even just going, I mean, one thing I learned about him, though, doing some research for this, was that he very rarely improvised. So
right.
if you read about him, he'd work his parts out, and rehearsed them so that when he went in the studio, he could try and do it in 1 or 2 takes.
Yeah.
And when you think the little, what people do know about Rush to complexity as they moved on, the fact that he could do like that sort of thing in 2 takes is just ridiculous. But apparently when they played live, he played it exactly the same.
Yeah. There's no variation. That's the part.
But he didn't need to, because and maybe it's the technicality of it meant that he didn't want to vary too far away from that in case it didn't work. But he was so, if you read about him, he was so devoted to playing the best that he could.
Yeah. How old was they all when it all kind of, how old was Pet?
Let me think. I've got to work this out then now. So there would have been, so in 1981 when Moving Pictures came out, they were only in the 30s. So they were only early.
Young then, young band
20s.
when it all.
Yeah. Because I was getting Lifeson's 68 now, so they would have been early 20s.
Man,
when they did this,
that doesn't seem that far away. 68 now.
Shut up. I know.
Oh man.
So I think the great thing about, I mean, I'm not saying why they're uncool yet. I'm thinking about what, if you think about the movement of their career, started off as a Led Zeppelin sounded like band, started to get more progressive, went a bit more new. Some like the Permanent Waves album, which was early 80s, right beginning of 80s, which is probably one of my favourites. Started to bring a bit of new wave in, and there were some elements of reggae and a little bit of Police. And then obviously in the 80s, they went completely keyboard. Yeah. Which can be scary to some. I can understand when you start listening, because the 80s periods, I've only fairly recently started delving into that. And you read these things, keyboards, but there's still loads of guitar on. It's just the keyboards are higher in the mix.
Well, I'm just going back from Spike, our old drummer we used to play with. He's a massive Rush fan, just for every element, not just the drums. Yeah. What did they do with the keyboards live? Did Geddy Lee do all foot pedals and all kinds of shit like that? Yeah.
So if you watch videos of him playing, he at certain points he's playing bass, singing, and then using the foot controller to play pads and keyboard parts.
It's just big nerdgasm, isn't it? If you're into it,
well, that's
look at him.
That's why they're uncool. Right. And then there's another point. He'll have been playing bass, and he'll walk over and maybe play the keyboard properly. You know what I mean? With his hands. That's keyboard playing. And I assume he'd got some sort of bass synth patch that he could fill in on the bass as well when he wanted to. But that's the other reason why I think they are such. People say how great they are, because if you love them, you've got Geddy Lee can do all that at the same time, and he's one of the best bass players there's ever been. Yeah. You've got arguably the best drummer, certainly in the rock sphere, there's ever been. Alex Lifeson's, I mean, how he doesn't get in these ridiculous, which I hate, but like top 20
polls.
Best. Yeah. He does. Well, he probably does. Go on.
Just overshadowed by the other two guys in the band.
Maybe slightly, yeah. But I mean, this is why so couple of things. As you know, I play Paul Reed Smith guitars, and I just remember in the early 90s seeing he was in loads of adverts for PRS, so that made me start to be aware of him at that point. And he played a particular model as well, which was not. Oh, it's a PRS. Would have been an expensive guitar, but he was playing one that was of a certain kind that was a more Fender influenced instrument. So I sort of became aware of him then. But the great thing is if you listen to like the classic Rush album of the earlier period, like 2112, which is the real prog fest, you know, the science fiction theme running through it, like a real concept album, like a 20-minute sweet song. I was reading something the other day that 6 of the solos off there, which completely improvised.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot.
So you got Pet being everything so structured, and then everything
and then
else
now that's why they work so well, because you can probably feed off that and think, well, if he's worked all these great parts out, he's leaving me room to do what I do. Yeah. So, and another reason is a very much a man after my own heart, in that he says all his solos 1-2 takes maybe. And once you start getting past that and you've done the improvising, you start to become too aware of your playing. And I know exactly what he means, because to me, if I've done a couple of takes and it's something that there might be the odd little bit, I think I could do that better. But once you start doing that, it loses its edge. And the spontaneity is what I want. So all those things for me, I just think he's such a fabulous guitar player. The fact that, they've got this 20-minute song that they've obviously rehearsed and planned out before, and then he goes, right, bugger it, improvise solo over the top of that. And it sounds so good. And if you listen to you think about the editing technology that was next to nothing, recording to tape, you've got to get this stuff right.
Yeah.
And the fact that he could improvise a solo in one of these songs and it just sounded like he'd planned it all out. It didn't just sound like somebody randomly playing a scale. Yeah.
Man.
Actually, fantastic musicianship. So you just keep going through the timeline after the keyboard stuff. They brought the guitars back more. And then they've carried on. And the last couple of albums, you can hear loads of these heavy, you can hear Tool and all sorts of things. They've soaked the influences up, but then most of these sort of bands that you would say are technical, like your Dream Theaters, like Tool, have all been influenced by Rush.
Oh God!
But then down you think of Foo Fighters. I know Taylor Hawkins has played with Rush. I think he played when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's a massive fan. Down to Jack Black. I mean, I know that Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, Rush are a massive influence on him.
Yeah.
So yes, they've influenced the technical stuff, but I think they've influenced, so many other bands as well. So there are the reasons why I think they're fantastic. And I think. What
was your introduction to them?
It's funny you should ask me that. Right? It would be this album. So this is Test for Echo. So this came out in '96.
Okay, right.
I reckon it's hard to say now, isn't it? We've talked about how did you find out about these things? You probably read in a magazine that a band that I like said, Rush were influenced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I probably as well, because I say I'd seen Lifeson in these PRS ads. I was aware of them. So this is just a great rock record. I'd argue to say whether this is progressive. There are some longish songs on it, but there's 11 tracks on here rather than like early albums with 6 on them and one was 20 minutes long, But this is just a great rock record. And then
what was the one that came out around like 1991? Was that Roll the Bones or something?
Yeah, Roll the Bones. Yeah, with the rap. Do you know?
I don't know. No, I just remember seeing the single and the album cover and stuff.
Roll the Bones was like so the album before Presto, they brought a lot of the guitar back higher in the mix. But Roll the Bones was quite a big album for them. But the actual song Roll the Bones has got Geddy Lee rapping on it. And I think that's another very polarizing thing. Because he did the rap, but they did something to his voice to lower it.
Okay.
Like some sort of pass filter on it. I don't mind it. And I think if you're a Rush fan, you love that song. If you're a Rush fan, you could hate that song.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen him live?
No, that's a big regret for me. A big regret. It's the same feeling I have about Bowie, because you know that I'm a massive Bowie fan, and the fact that I never got to see him live is just like shocking to me. It's disgusting. I can't believe I never got to see him. But no, I haven't. And it's strange, isn't it? Where so that album and then the one after, which is Vapor Trail. So that's 2002. So quite a big gap there. That's quite a heavy album. You can hear that, like the likes of Tool and that would have listened to that and taken, because there was quite in between. That's quite a long hiatus. So what did I say? 6 years in between that. Neil Peart's daughter died in a car.
I know, he had loads of shit going off, didn't
and then
he?
not long after, his first wife died of cancer.
Yeah.
So in between these albums, he sort of. I think they probably thought the band was over. He went off and did 55,000 miles on his motorbike. Apparently,
I remember Spike telling me about that.
Yeah. So the fact that he came back from that and they still made some fantastic albums is, testament to. I think when you've got that far though, when you started obviously from, let's say from 74, you've got, that would be very hard to leave it behind, wouldn't it?
And especially a 3-piece as well. I think a 3-piece is different to even like a 4-piece band. A 3-piece, you've got just such a solid core.
Yeah.
Even if you have like the biggest breakup ever, there's always going to be some connection.
Yeah. So like now the Lifeson and Geddy Lee have both said there's no way Rush can exist without Neil Peart. It's just not going to happen. I've read an interview with Taylor Hawkins where he said, people have said you could play with him, and he said there's no way that I could do it. Because it wouldn't. He's a massive fan, so he doesn't think is right. But he said the fans would never stand for it, and it wouldn't be Rush. And I know Lifeson said he's released a couple of new instrumental tracks recently, and he's doing a new like band project. But he said there'll never be another Rush. There'll not be nothing called Rush again. There can't.
No,
you can't.
No.
So I'll get onto the uncool bit in a minute. But if I was going to say, I've got all my CDs here, Bob. Hang on. So if I was going to say to you an album like for a bloke of our age, right, who's listened to the sort of stuff that we've listened to, I would say it's this one, Counterparts.
Okay.
Right. So this came out in 1993. Right. Are you ready for the shoehorn of everybody knows by now my favourite band? This came out on the same day as Versus was released by Pearl Jam.
Right.
So that's the only album that kept this off top of the Billboard charts. Right. But when you're up against an album like Versus that sells nearly 1 million copies in 5 days, you're going to struggle to get to number one, aren't you? Let's be honest. But this, everything about this album, to me, is perfect.
Yeah.
The sound of it, the production.
I've never even seen that. That cover doesn't even ring a bell to me.
You've got to listen to this. I think you'll like this, right? Just a great collection of songs. The lyrics are fantastic. But you see, I think because I came to Rush later, Moving Pictures is like the biggest seller. That's the one that's got Tom Sawyer on it and Limelight.
Okay.
The two of the massive songs. That must have sold 5 or 6 million. Probably a lot more than that now. And then you think of 2112, which is like the real sort of science fiction prog opus. And I love those, but because I came to them a bit later, and this, I'm not saying it sounds more modern. It does sound more modern, but this album would definitely be one of someone like us who've of our sort of age, who've come up through the sort of music we like, the hard rock, and then getting into 90s
I find it interesting that you've picked an album that came out probably pretty much at the peak when your music passion was at its highest.
Yeah.
So there's probably certain elements like the sound. I don't know. Is this certain sounds which you're picking up on, or
the production of that. So the interesting thing about that is that the band Rush have admitted themselves that they'd been listening to Pearl Jam. Yeah, and there'd been Primus, the band Primus.
Les Claypool.
Yeah, Les Claypool. Yeah, the again an influence on them, and they'd been listening to what they were doing. So they'd been listening.
That's a bass player. Fucking hell.
It is, isn't it? I know. At this stage of their career, though, when you think they've been going since 68, but 74 the first album, but they're still listening to brand new stuff at the time and taking it on board. I think a lot of bands now are scared to admit things like that because they'd be saying, "Oh, you're just copying."
Yeah.
But I think the fact that, like, at that stage into their career, they could take that on board and still be. I think it's fantastic. So why am I defending them as being uncool? Right?
Because not many girls like them.
Exactly. And in actual fact, if you watch the most recent documentary on them, that's a point that's made. The Life, I think it was Lifeson said he stood there, and there are women there, obviously, but the front row. The queue is
at the men's toilet rather than the ladies' toilet.
Exactly right. The barrier is like loads of middle-aged men.
Yeah,
but that shouldn't make them uncool. That's just how the audience has grown up with them.
Yeah.
yeah, I can see why people say that they're a band that males like more than women, but I think there's plenty of women that are fantastic musicians that must like them, and so I think that is one thing, and the progressive rock angle. That's probably a reason why. So they were eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '98,
right?
Didn't get until 2012, 13.
Okay,
and a lot of journalists have said that it's because progressive rock is seen as this geeky thing. It's not a genre that they necessarily would have awarded, Which, so that, and with the way they looked, right, I think we would agree they're all things that would make them geeky, uncool.
Yeah.
Right? I think one of the other things why they're uncool and some, it's like the love or hate with some people is Geddy's voice.
Yeah.
So if you listen to like this debut album and the 3 or 4 after, even up to 2112 and that, the shrieks there, he's singing in a very high register, but it's interesting as they progress and like get into the earlier 80s stuff, it's still there a bit, but then like as we get to Moving Pictures, he's not doing it as much. He's definitely singing in a lower register. I just wonder if that was a conscious thing, if he didn't want to sing like that anymore, or if, I would have no idea, but did he take that criticism on board? And I don't know. Or what the music's changing as well, you see. So
yeah, well, like you said earlier, they're taking on different sounds and probably open to different ideas. Let's try doing it this way. And it might have been cool for him to say, I've never heard myself sound like that before.
Yeah. So it's interesting. He sounds more, as it moves on, he sounds more laid back.
Yeah.
But it probably, it suits the less bombastic nature maybe of the music a little bit.
Yeah.
But so I think there's an element of love or hate with them to some degree for that very reason.
Yeah.
And maybe some people are scared off by, so Rolling Stone hated them for years. They didn't get on the cover of Rolling Stone till about 2013, 14, which when you think a band that started in 1968, it's crazy, isn't it? Ridiculous.
And when you say how many album sales
and again, I think some of that there's definitely there was definitely a view of the mainstream media that they were uncool because what they were doing was uncool. And I think the musicianship is not cool to the mainstream media.
No, definitely.
Let's be honest. What the mainstream media like, it's a sweeping generalization in it, but if it's simpler and they can categorize it easier,
they don't need to be challenged. You don't need to think about it too much. Yeah,
that's cool. Whereas if stuff like what Rush are doing and did,
certainly not disposable stuff.
No, which is really what, right on my street. That's. I don't know whether
what's the film? Is it I Love You Man with the Rush angle to it?
That's
with Paul Rudd.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah, Paul. It is. Yeah. There's a
that's got a Rush theme running all the way through.
There's a very funny video of that he's in explaining how you pronounce Neil Peart's name properly.
Yeah. Oh, I have to have a look for that.
So I think, it carries on, doesn't it? Dream Theater aren't a cool band.
No.
They'd be seen as geeky. And look,
I don't think any of these bands are worrying too much about it.
Of course they're not. No. So, I remember, not that I'm comparing any of the music that I've ever written to Rush, but I remember once being told in a very early band that my songs were too complicated. Not necessarily in what I was playing, just I like to have lots of different bits to
them.
And I took that on board to some degree, but then I think, bugger it, it's what I'm writing.
As long as you're not making it complicated for complicated sake.
No.
You know what I mean? I've got to make this weird. I've got to do this. No, if that's what's coming out of you, then just roll with it.
Yeah, that's right. So, it's just interesting that I think a band can be unfairly unfairly marked out as uncool and geeky, but they can be so successful. So as I always say, Bob, mainstream media and mainstream radio underestimate what the listening public are capable of listening to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I think if there was more challenging music on the radio in daytime, they'd be surprised how many people would enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. But there's also the angle of focusing on certain pockets. Just because people don't listen to the mainstream media, there's still obviously thousands and millions of people. Just target them. You don't.
Yeah.
We almost take on like, oh, it's got to go down that popular route. That's the way to expose it. But no, there's different pockets everywhere. It's just finding them.
It is, isn't it? And I think just finally, the other thing that attracts me to them is the outsider vibe. If you can be an outsider when you've sold that many records, but certainly early on, they were outsiders in that they were doing exactly what they wanted to do. Yeah. And I can completely empathize with that. It's that thing about being true to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
The best thing that one of the funniest things and the best things I remember reading about them. So the first 3 albums were done. The third album, Caress of Steel, was really went full on like prog out, like 12-minute songs, etc. It didn't sell very well, and apparently didn't even get a very good reaction from the fans. And they were doing these tours, and what was the amount? I wish I'd have written this down, but they were struggling to like make the $150 a week or so, whatever it was that they were living off, because they were just not going to, and people weren't coming to the shows. So the label was it's Atlantic, isn't it? Is it Atlantic? Mercury. Sorry, I should know that.
They stayed on the same label all the time.
Yes, well, they have up until more. I'm not sure when it was they changed, but they were with them for quite a long time. Yeah. But the label wanted to drop them. This is just before 2112, which, bearing in mind, like sold millions, right? Was the one that, and so the manager. So bearing in mind, the Canadian, the manager went to, I think it was Chicago. He said to their officers, and said, "Don't worry, they're making this fantastic album. It's going to be massive. It's going to be brilliant." He'd never even heard any of the songs.
What a legend!
And he managed to get on one more album, right? Yeah. So you'd think on that, right? Oh God, we need to write something popular. They wrote 2112 with a 20-minute song because Alex Lifeson said they didn't want to be a Led Zeppelin wannabe band anymore. They wanted to sound like Rush. So they wrote this really technically proficient and challenging album, and they said, "We'll go out in a blaze of glory."
Exactly. I was just about to say, they knew the writing was on the wall, so at least let's go down on our own terms. I'd rather go out,
exactly. And if I have to go back to doing a job, I'll do it, but at least I know I've done it. That's just fantastic. And it sold 3 million or whatever, So that just shows you, if you stick to your guns, eventually you'll get where you want to be, I think. Yeah. Cool. Right. So
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. Big band. I think I've seen them. Well, quite a few bands couldn't lay claim to this, but the biggest cult band in the world. But I can appreciate, but definitely not cool. Come on then, Bob. You seem a bit nervous. So,
I do seem a bit nervous because when you threw this at me, I thought this is going to be easy. This is going to be like, well, basically, I've been defending bands that have been deemed uncool for all my life, to be honest. Yeah. So I could have gone for a Poison or a Trickster, but I feel I've said my pieces for them. I feel I've said my piece for them in the last 20 years, and I've got no need to defend them.
No.
So you're saying Rush were loved by, I don't know, 99% male and 1% female. Yeah. Well, I'm going to flip it and go the other way. Yeah. And it's not necessarily just one band, really. It's a whole genre of music. But I'm going to focus on one band, but I'm tipping my hat to a whole genre of music. Right. And I'm going to pick Take That.
Oh, my gosh. Right, okay.
And just boy bands in general. Because I think it's a magical thing. I really do.
I wasn't expecting that.
I know you aren't. I thought, do I go down busted? But I love Busted. Busted are genuine, and I'll defend that. I've been defending them for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, a band that have reinvented themselves.
Yeah.
Since they came back. First off, though, I'll put this disclaimer out there before anyone shoots me in the foot. There's no excuses for their live version of Smells Like Teen Spirit from 1995. Have you seen that?
Unfortunately, I know about it.
Oh, man, you've got to go watch it. And it's actually there on their actual official Take That
Is it?
YouTube channel.
To be proud of.
Yeah, it's amazing that they've actually put it up. But you've got to go and watch it just for the YouTube comments, for what people say about it. There's some friggin' gems, like Kurt Cobain did die because of this and all kinds of stuff like that. Oh, man. But yeah, I'm picking Take That because I'm casting this out to boy bands in general and how great a lot of them are. The songs, melodies. But one thing I do love watching is documentaries about them and just the memories and excitement that they create for millions and millions of people. Yes, mainly girls, but are these bands, especially the ones from like the 80s and 90s, they've become a part of people's lives and journeys. Yeah. Just to see the passion that these people have got for these bands and the memories for them. When you hear people speak about them, it's just so great. And the relationships they've made and all that kind of stuff. I mean, not to throw things on me, but I did some gigs with Let Loose a few years ago. And
is this why you did that post? Was it yesterday when you... Oh, just coincidence.
That is a coincidence, right. Actually. Yeah, that is a coincidence. Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't see any fandom as such, but I got to meet people who was fans of the band back in the day, and they'd all meet up at the gigs and tell stories of like going to meet the band and stuff like that. And to me, that's just... It makes me feel so good. It really does. It warms my heart. It really does.
What? So does more than like the bands that we would normally?
It's follow? Different. It's a different
You
thing.
Say that again.
Yeah. I mean, we love music, like, and I've like just fanatic about bands, but it's a different kind of thing. When you watch, if you ever watch a documentary, you can see how much they care about them. It's just awesome. It really is. Yeah. But and I don't take that specifically. I'm just trying to find my notes here. I don't know how much you've dived into them or listened to them or know anything about them.
Zero.
Oh,
yeah, but it permeates into you, doesn't it? Because they're so popular. I appreciate that. Yeah. Just
for like I say, you put some stats. I've not got any like numbers of albums sold, but 28 top 40 singles, 17 of them top 5, 12 of them number 1. Formed in 1990, manufactured band. There's no secrets about that.
Yeah.
By a guy called Nigel Martin Smith, who wanted a UK version of New Kids on the Block, who were just huge. But what I think is cool is like the different eras they've had. I never had a problem with the pop stuff. I didn't go out and buy Take That albums or anything like that when they first came out. But I remember when Everything Changes came out. You know that one.
Yeah. I'm only laughing because you are.
Right, it's fine. That's when I started to pay attention. Hey, this is a good tune. This is a good tune. And I think like Back for Good was the one where everyone was like, hang on. I think it's when they broke out the acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
that. Yeah.
And,
they can play instruments.
Yeah. But that was there's that. But I think everyone was like, hang on. This isn't just pop stuff. This is a well-constructed song. It's not just throwaway. This is... But then everything went to shit. Robbie left in 95 and they split in 96. But then they come back in the mid 2000s. I think it was around 2006. And this album, Beautiful World, it's frigging great. I don't know how familiar you are with Single Patience, which they came back with.
I know the song. Yeah.
Well, the lead song to this album, Reach Out, is phenomenal.
Right.
It's just awesome. It's so good. Now, I didn't see him on that tour, but I saw him on the second tours. I saw him on the album Circus and Progress. Hands down, 2 of the best gigs I've ever been to.
Yeah. So is this? Do you think this is a follow-on, Bob, from your sort of Rick Price, Richard Marx loving thing earlier?
Maybe.
On? Yeah.
Maybe. Just like good tunes. I mean, I was into all the pop stuff in the 80s before I got into pop stuff. All the Stock Aitken and Waterman things, all that kind of thing. So to me, just a good song is a good song, regardless of yes, I'm going to lean towards guitars and a guy who looks cool on stage. But
that's an interesting thing. This is a topic in itself. But if I think back to my formative gig going and music loving thing, right? My pop was Go West, Nick Kershaw,
Duran kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, not so much, but even to Pow. Right, I've seen them a couple of times. No, but the thing, Nick Kershaw was my man when I was growing up. He's a brilliant guitar player.
Yeah,
and if you listen to some of his newer albums, fantastic songwriter. But like Go West, brilliant musician, great musicians again. So I agree with you entirely that in that pop sphere. So who, obviously we know, I can't believe I'm saying this. So obviously we know about Gary Barlow, right?
Yes, but that's the interesting thing. Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up.
Did they have someone early on who wrote the material, or did he do it straight away?
I think what it was, this Nigel Martin Smith, he wanted to form this band, and it was going to be just like people wanted to audition for this boy band. Yeah. I guess they've got to look the part, maybe be able to dance, and maybe be able to sing a little bit, and we'll sort everything out in the studio. Yeah. So I think he was putting it together. Then Gary Barlow got on his radar, and he was like, holy shit, there's somebody here who can write songs. He'd been like doing all the frigging cabarets and all the kind of clubs, playing on his own piano since he was, I don't know, whatever age.
Yeah.
So he'd been there and he'd got this background in it already. So I think that was a little bit of that set them apart. They did have a songwriter within the band. But like I say, I never went crazy for the early stuff because it was very pop. I wasn't interested in five lads with like leather waistcoats on, dancing in jelly. I don't know if you've seen that first video. I'll send it to you. I'll post it on your page.
Oh, I'm joking. Right, go on, carry on. Yeah.
But for me, it was once everything broke up, that's when I genuinely became interested in him. Firstly, if you've not heard Robbie's album Life Through a Lens, superb,
right,
amazing, it's a rock and roll album.
I've got to admit, the only thing that I'll say is that I remember when Mark Owen did his first solo album, and there's some very good songs on that.
Okay,
that I remember hearing and thinking. I'm sure I saw him on some TV program. I thought, why has he not been doing this from the start?
Yeah. Because I was going to big up Mark Owen because he's one of my favorite people on the planet.
Yeah.
His first album came out, Green Man. That was I don't know if that was after the split or towards the end of the split.
Right.
They had the song Clementine on it, which is great. It's a great indie pop song. Yeah. But for me, his second album, which I've got here, which is there.
Right.
In Your Own Time, which has got 4-minute warning on it. I don't know if that's
that might be what I'm thinking of then. Yeah.
Which is a genius song. Yeah. If you listen to how that's constructed, I mean, it's a bit of a gimmick, but it's called 4-minute warning. It starts off, and every chorus, instead of saying 4-minute warning, it counts down. So the second chorus, it starts off with 4-minute warning. The second chorus is 3-minute warning.
Yeah.
Third one is 2-minute warning. But if you clock it, it's a very clever studio thing.
Yeah.
When it hits that second chorus, it ties in exactly on the minutes. It counts down. Yeah. Very clever. The song on this album called Gravity, which is, if I could sing and play acoustic guitar, I would do that song because it's a wonderful song.
Right. So was he the main songwriter, or are other people involved in that writing with him?
Leading up, on the Mark Owen album, I have to have a look actually, because I did actually look on like the second reincarnation of Take That where they came back. I thought, who is it Gary Barlow well, that's one thing I like, because it got to this second chapter of them, and I think whether Gary was in a more open-minded space, but everybody got to contribute.
Right.
Whereas you used to have the main singer, and then everyone else can they really sing?
Backing singers,
can they sing? I don't like the guys from East 17 or something. But on this album, everybody's got their own songs, got their own voices and stuff like that. You can tell each different person. But I was looking who was writing them, and from that second chapter, they had a guy called John Shanks who done a lot of stuff with Westlife, but he's also worked with Goo Goo Dolls. Sheryl Crow, Keith Urban.
Yeah.
So they're kind of going into that more adult direction, if you like. And they had a guy called Steve Robson, who's done loads of stuff with One Direction, Ollie Meyers, McBusted, but then also James Blunt and James Morrison as well. So all these kind of mainstream people. So
So let me ask you a genuine question then, right? Because of the stuff that you mainly like, right? Is there a slight contrariness in this that you that
define contrary? I'm not quite sure what it means.
Well, like that you're thinking. I don't know how to describe it. That you're almost listening to this partly, or did you start listening to it because you really liked it, or more that you thought, well, I'm going to listen to this because other people wouldn't think that I would, and then you came to love it?
I never do that.
No,
that is fooling yourself, I think, if you do that.
Or you didn't, or maybe you weren't trying to make yourself like it.
Never tried to make myself like anything.
No,
I just hear a song that's a great song.
Yeah.
I never thought of it in that way.
No, that's just me being cynical. No, only because I've tried to make myself like stuff in the past.
Like what? You got any examples?
I don't know. I mean,
I think I've done that before. In the way of not try and make myself like it, but I think we spoke about this before, especially when you start getting into music heavily, like band music.
Yeah.
There was a point where I'm listening to Extreme or Van Halen and things like that, but I'm loving music so much, I want to get as much on board as I can. So I'm like, I've got to go listen to the Beatles. I've got to go listen to David Bowie because it's part of music. So I did that. I went to the library, rented some Beatles and Bowie. And I think the only one which I've specifically tried to is early Aerosmith.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to go and buy them albums because everybody's talking about them.
Yeah.
I've not heard what it's like, but I just couldn't get into
Couldn't
it.
you?
No,
you see,
it's all right.
I'd much rather listen to that early, much more like Dream On and the earlier, like much more rock and roll stuff than the ballad centric stuff, which just does nothing.
No, that doesn't either for me.
No.
But I went and brought Rocks and Toys in the Attic, and I'm like, I mean, just going back to take that, I just fell in love a little bit with the second chapter of, whether it be because they were now grown men in a different place in their life and just doing music for music's sake. And to me, it showed. And those tours I went to, not only was seeing the reaction from the crowds, and you could see these people have been into them forever, but the show they put on. And I think that's the thing which pop music gets sent down for. You could go to somebody and you should go and see Britney Spears live. Yeah. And they'd be like, I'm never going to one of them shows. But this is aside from the music. This is the production, and like why more people should go to the theatre, because it's taking you out of your comfort zone to see something and appreciate something on a whole different level. Yeah. Going to see a pop concert is different to going to see a rock concert in a way. Yeah. It's a different kind of reaction to it. And those two, I mean, fair enough, they were stadium shows, but the way they did it was, and the ideas that went.
Where were those?
First one was in Coventry, pissed it down, got wet through. That was the Circus tour, which was amazing. And then we went to see him on the Progress tour, where they got Robbie back in.
Right.
And how they did that was genius, because they effectively had 3 eras to cover. They had the original era, which was all the pop stuff. They had the comeback era before Robbie joined the band. And they also had the new album, which was Robbie playing on it. So how are they going to encompass all that into one concert?
Yeah.
And how they did it was legendary. Well, perhaps legendary is perhaps not the right word. But they basically broke up the set into 3 sections. First half an hour, they came on and did as a 4-piece with all stuff from This Beautiful World and Circus. Then they ended that and Robbie Williams came on. If you can watch it, I'm going to say it's in my top 2 or 3 introductions at a gig ever.
Wow.
How Robbie Williams came on is superb. And Robbie came on and did a set of his own material.
Oh, gosh.
For like because he's got enough hits as well.
Was that a contractual?
Maybe, but
thing?
it worked. It worked brilliantly. But I'll have to send you the link of how he comes on because it is superb. He did his set, then they came back on and did all stuff from the new album and then the old stuff as well. It works so well. Yeah. But one thing about Take That is you never know what they're going to do on the next album now because every album is different afterwards. This Progress album with Robbie, which I think he had a lot of the songwriting on. It's some weird stuff on there. It's not standalone pop stuff. They're obviously doing the music because they love music and challenging themselves to come up with something creative and exciting. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant, but they've got this fan base that is open to it. My only problem with it, and it's perhaps not a reflection on the band, it's a reflection on the way things are now, they're just outpriced these days. To go and see a band like them, they've hit that level where it's just insanely expensive for tickets.
Yeah.
And crazy. I love them, but I don't love them that much.
No, crazy. Yeah. Well, that's another topic, isn't it? How much
exactly.
concert prices have gone up to, because we were just.
I mean, you're looking £100 once you've thrown everything in it, and that's just for one of you.
Yeah, we were just talking before, weren't we? I said about the Chili Peppers gigs coming up, and it's not going to be a cheap job.
Well, Billy Idol's just announced a tour, which I'd love to go and see because the Go-Go's are supporting him, which is, yes, two legendary acts. Yeah. But I think tickets for that are up towards £80.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money if there's a couple of you.
Yeah. One of my students went to watch Genesis a couple of weeks ago, and they were well over £100 each, I think.
Wow. Yeah. What are you paying for there, though? Are you paying for...
No, they don't need the money, do they? I know.
You know what I mean? I know these things aren't cheap anymore to put these shows on. Are you paying for the fact that you're seeing Genesis on probably the last tour?
Probably, yeah. Do you think that the tickets are going to have to go up because they've not been able to do anything for the best part of 2 years?
There is that as well. You want to support the industry, but don't price yourself out of the... I mean, Genesis obviously don't need the money.
No.
So there's not that... Is there that aspect of it? We need to make X amount per show.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that, Bob. I like what you've done. I understand why you didn't want to go first, though. I mean, I know it's good because we've come at it from two completely different angles, obviously.
Yeah, and we went off in like a few tangents, which is good.
Wasn't it?
We analysed a few things.
That's the best bit. I mean, So, I guess when you were talking, just to round it off about boy bands in general, then you mentioned like Busted and that. Not a massive degree of separation between like Bustards and your McFlys, a stretch through to your Blink-182s and your...
Oh, no.
Is there? No. So I can get you. I completely understand where you're coming from with that. You know, because you the power pop thing. I struggle with stuff that's not got a lot of guitar on, you see.
Yeah.
That's my thing. But having said all that, in a previous video, we talked a little bit about John Mayer, didn't we?
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't. And people won't have seen it because I cut loads of it out because I started. I went off too far. But his newest record, just very briefly, Sob Rock, he's pop.
Yeah.
But I'll listen to it because it's John Mayer and it's got the odd blues guitar solo
in
it. But he's pop. He's not very bluesy.
I'm going to email you if you latter take that track. People should go and listen to Reach Out because it's frigging brilliant. And I'm going to email you Robbie Williams' intro on the Progress tour.
Don't tell me why I'm going to get that.
She'll be like, what are you watching?
Yeah. So one final little digression, which we'll just do on the record.
I thought this was going to be a quick episode.
Oh, forget that. Right. And we can still connect it slightly to pop. You've obviously seen the news that what David Lee Roth said this week,
yes.
haven't you? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, just very quickly?
I think I don't know. I mean, I read into what everybody else is saying on it. Is there health issues?
Yeah.
I mean, I love Dave. He's great, but he's been terrible live.
He's not been able to sing for a long time, has he?
No, and people will go back and say, oh, if you listen to the early stuff, he didn't sing half the words and all that kind of thing. But no, it is pretty painful to watch some of the latter stuff.
Yeah.
I think we've probably spoke about it a million times before. He's been putting out quite a few singles. I don't know if you
I've listened to, yeah.
I wish he'd just do that.
Yeah.
Like the lower register, the acoustic, just the chilled, smoky vibe. That's what Dave should have been doing for a long time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It sounds like I've got issues. The clips from his last few Vegas shows, I don't know how many of you've watched.
Not for a bit, but yeah.
He's got the dullest backing band ever.
Yeah.
I know it's David Lee Roth. It's all about David Lee Roth, but the band are terrible. They play amazing, but they're one of the most dullest bands ever.
Yeah.
Alice Cooper
you mean
gets
no stage show? You mean no moving? No.
Nothing. Where that instructions come from, I have no idea. But to me, it looks like he's just gone to some local music academy. I need the best bass player, the best drummer, the best guitarist who can play Van Halen songs. I need them to all dress in black and stand at the back. But you look at Alice Cooper, he's got the coolest badass band ever that move to the front and shine. And he's cool, she's cool. This is a show.
Yeah.
But I mean, people are talking about Alex Van Halen coming out and playing with him. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Which you think he'd want to do in that sort of setting, wouldn't you? You think he'd want to have, the full-on works, not. Yeah. I mean, you don't want some of the comments. You just don't want to read because you know what people are going to be saying. Oh, he's not been able to sing for 20 years or whatever.
Maybe if I was there, I'd be like totally different. I'd be like, oh, maybe there's some. We're just watching YouTube videos shot through a shitty camera, aren't we?
Yeah, of course.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, that's terrible. Hard to judge anything, isn't it? Like that. I remember towards the end of his life, Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots. You'd reading things about him. Oh, his voice sounds he's terrible, and perhaps some of the latter shows right towards the end when he was touring his own. But it is really hard to judge things. Mm-hmm. Just going back to Rush, the last few shows they played in like 15, 13, maybe 2013. People, you read the comments. Great band, still sound musically. Oh, Geddy's lost his voice. Well, he hasn't. He was a six. What would he have been then? 63, 64, 65. He's still trying to hit those high notes, and most of the time he did. So I think it's hard to judge just on a camera video.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the clip of it. Is a recent one. I think it might be when Dave was supporting Kiss, where he's walking to the stage. I don't know if you've seen that video.
No.
It's brilliant.
Oh, I'll have a look.
Just probably put it in David Lee Roth stage walk or something like that. And it's just great. He's just walking with just so much swagger, and people are just kind of pretty much bowing down to him.
Yeah,
and that is pretty cool. I do like that.
And just very, very finally on the carrying the Van Halen theme, I can't believe it's a year already. It's ridiculous, isn't it? How quickly that's gone. And someone had put a picture up from must have been 91, 92 with his Ernie Ball guitar. And it just brings back a lot of memories for me. About that guitar, which we don't need to talk about again now. But just amazing how quickly the time goes from that point of view.
Just like that, man.
Yeah, cool. Right, well,
do everything you want to do. Do everything you need to do.
Exactly. And if you want to listen to Take That, you can listen to Take That.
I'm going to go and listen to all these albums.
I can't even show you how many Rush albums I've got because there's that many of them. 19 albums to listen to.
Man, respect there.
Yeah. Cool. Respect. Right. I enjoyed that. That was good.
Appreciate it, mate. Nice one.
So, yes, we shall be back with there's still plenty of topics we've got to.
Episode 6. Yeah. Anyone got any suggestions? Anyone wants to know what other pop stuff I listen to? I can keep churning that out for days.
Cool. Nice one, mate. All right.
All righty.
See you in a bit then.
Cheers, dude.
See ya. Bye.